the rest of you, I want to send you Lasagna, Loretta, Cassidy, Jared, Annette, Andrea, Alicia, Meredith, who else do I work with? And Frank, yes, and Eve, right. Thank you all for coming here tonight. I'm curious, is there anyone in the room for whom this is their very first ACLU lobby day? Can we have an applause for them? Thank you so much. For folks where this is their first time either participating with us, or for you who would say, well, I'm not really interested in politics. I'm not really engaged in politics. But you know something? Unless you are a white man who owns property in the state of Maryland, your existence, your humanity was not considered when this state nor this country were founded. So we are here on behalf of all of us who were not included at the founding of our state, and for all of you who were, and for those who will come after us. I'm really pleased to welcome all of you. Again, my name is Dana Victor Shelley. My pronouns are she and they. And it's my privilege and pleasure to be Executive Director of the ACLU of Maryland. Together, we are doing great things. And by together, again, I mean all of you and those who are not even in this room. Folks from Prince George's County, from the Eastern Shore, from Western Maryland, from Baltimore County, where I live, from Baltimore City, where our office is located, from Central Maryland, Anne Arundel County, who came the closest, I won't even ask. The people who live down the street, anybody in Frank hanging out at Ramshead Live, we passed one of your favorite locations. I'm really, really happy to see your faces because for many of you, we know your names, we share information with you on social media, but we don't have a chance to see you in person. Today, as I was getting ready to come to Annapolis, Meredith got yelled at me, I was watching Fox 45 News. They have, and they have a slogan that I'm getting ready to really put on blast. And I start here. Their slogan is, if you have a problem, you tell us, and we'll let the legislature know because they work for us, meaning Fox 45 News. In fact, Fox 45 News works for themselves, and the legislators, as Sergio said, senators and delegates work for us. For those of us who voted for them, those of us who didn't vote for them, but they still represent us. And just like anyone who's not actually doing the job that you hired them for, you can unhire them. You can unvote for them, right? If they're not following through on what you're expecting. I want to take a moment to thank officially our public policy director, Annette Emanuel. Annette, please speak. And engagement mobilization director, Sergio Espana, along with your amazing teams who've done so much hard work, not just to get us here in this room this evening, but who are leading the effort to make sure that our voices are heard in Annapolis, in the halls of the legislature. Please come in. Please come in. Have a seat. It's our mission at the ACLU to empower Marylanders so that their rights and the laws value and uplift their humanity. A key part of how we do this is to fulfill our mission is by centering Marylanders directly impacted by oppression in our work. And we do that by listening to people, to the moms whose children have been harmed by police, to the students in elementary school, middle school, and high school who are trying to work to have anti-racist curriculum, to the elders who are concerned still about voting rights and think that they shouldn't have to worry about voting rights on the Eastern Shore in 2023. But thank goodness they're happy for the ACLU that's actually getting ready to file a lawsuit against folks in various parts of the state who are still not upholding voting rights laws. People in this room, like you and your neighbors, that's most needed to make sure we're focusing on the right issues and that we are doing things the right way. You will hear people say, I remember with the ACLU, you all were so nice and you taught lawsuits and that's what we really worried about. You weren't quite as rowdy or quite as rude or quite as whatever it might be. Well, guess what? We've been around for 92 years, and we've been changing a lot in the last 5 to 7 years because our state demands it, our state needs it, you demanded it, you need it, and you called for us to work in this way. We thank you so much for that. This year we have a new governor, a new legislative team, and we're asking them, what work can we do together to fulfill the country's unrealized promise of justice and freedom for all? Hopefully we can work together with them. But don't be surprised if you hear the ACLU calling those elected officials out, maybe even people some of us voted for, to say, you're not following through. Your actions, your decisions, your messages are still racially oppressive. They're harming young children. They're harming Latino children, Hispanic children across our state. They're not helping our children get the right education that they should have, the language access that they should have. You're not helping make sure that on July 1st, when everyone can smoke marijuana who's over 21, that people who have been in prison for years for using marijuana will be able to come home to their families and have their records expunged. So they're no longer about a job, a place to live, looking after their family. When they come back into our community, we'll be so appreciative of that. And to make sure that instead of all those resources leaving the state, because you're hearing about dispensaries coming into Maryland to make money, we want some of that money to not just stay in Maryland, because that's what it's supposed to be by the legislature. What is my message point?
I said, we want to own it, black and brown.
We want that, and we want the money to come back into communities from where the people were removed from in the crazy war and stuff. So that's part of what we're doing. You'll hear more about the details as you work with your teams and go visit your elected officials. Again, thank you so much for being here. We truly could not do this without you. We're here to create a more perfect union, to support democracy as it truly should be, that not just includes all of us, but respects and empowers all of us. So that the youngest and smallest and most beautiful person in the room tonight, a little child all the way in the back of the room, when he gets ready to take office, run a business, get elected, or whatever his heart and head decide, and let his mom and dad say it's okay, that he is able to do all those things. Thank you again.
And now, very quickly, we're going to go once again through our policy priorities. Everyone should have gotten this information a whole lot of times already, but we want to make sure that y'all have an opportunity to meet our policy team, hear a little bit of quick updates on them, and they'll also be available for our quick breakouts before we go. With that, I would like to introduce our public policy director, Jeanette.
I'm going to call up my team, Gregory, Frank, come up, and then also Olivia.
Can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm calling up the team, Frank and Gregory joining us, and then we also have another member of our team, Olivia, who should be somewhere around here that I don't think. So again, thank you so much for being here tonight. And really quickly, okay, Olivia. I'm sure you got an email from her at one point this session from her. I'm going to really quickly go through our policy priorities, and also Gregory and Frank are going to talk about a couple of them, but we'll be around afterwards to answer any questions you all might have. So one of our legislative priorities this session is making sure that police accountability boards across the state are able to have independent investigatory powers. This was the main reason why we repealed the law enforcement officer bill of rights, to make sure that the police are not policing themselves. And so this is a really critical bill. We had a hearing with it last week, and have a House hearing coming up soon. We will talk to your legislators about that. Next, as most of you might remember, we worked for the last decade to remove the governor from the parole process, and we were successful in doing that, except in one.
We can't understand you. We can't hear you or understand you.
Can you hear me now? I'll start over. So one of our legislative priorities, top priorities this session is making sure that police accountability boards across the state have independent investigatory powers. And so what this bill does is just clarify that your local councils will be able to give these boards independent investigatory powers. We had a Senate hearing a couple weeks ago, and we have a House hearing coming up soon. And once we have a hearing date, we'll definitely circle that information around. Next, another critical bill. As you might remember, for the last decade, we've been working on removing the governor from the medical parole process. I'm sorry, from the parole process in general for individuals serving life sentences. We were successful, but due to a small drafting error, it left out medical parole. So this session, we are back to fix that mistake and making sure that those who are eligible for medical parole do not have to be delayed being released due to waiting for a decision from the governor. Next, two other critical bills we'll talk about before I pass it over to my team is, as you all know, in November, Marylanders decided to legalize recreational use of marijuana for adults. However, there's still more work to do to eliminate criminal penalties for those for possession and intent to distribute, as well as permitting police practices that lead to the criminalization of black and brown folks and the law racial profiling. So one of the bills that we passed this session is HB 280 and SB 73, which would eliminate possessing over the legal use amount and intent to distribute and treat those as civil penalties instead. Because if we learn from the mistakes of the war on drugs and the war on marijuana, then we need to prohibit criminalizing folks moving forward as well. And then lastly, I'll talk about is prohibiting police from conducting stops or searches solely based on the odor of marijuana or the alleged odor of marijuana. Marylanders shouldn't have to worry about being criminalized or having unnecessary police interactions solely based on the odor of a legal substance. And this is a huge racial profiling issue because in Maryland, 60% of those who are stopped and searched are black people. And black people are 4 times more likely to be searched compared to their counterparts. And it can lead to both being criminalized or sometimes like the death situations of black people here in Maryland. So this is a really critical bill. It's also a legislative black caucus priority. I encourage you to talk to your legislators about this bill. There's one page with more information, and I'll be around to answer any questions folks have.
Hello, my name is Gregory Brown, Public Policy Counsel for the ACLU of Maryland. So I have been tasked with working closely with our state partners to enact a Maryland Voting Rights Act in the state of Maryland. And so what I just want to hit briefly on what the Maryland Voting Rights Act would do. First, it enables our state to confront evolving barriers to participation and to root out long-standing discriminatory practices by creating a civil right of action against voter intimidation and protections for non-English speaking voters. It will also provide resources to local governments considering changes to election structures and rules, and encourage a streamlined and low-cost approach to addressing complaints of voting discrimination. So basically, what you need to know about the main things that this will do, it will institute pre-clearance in the state. So if a local jurisdiction wants to change its rules or how they structure their elections, they would have to be pre-cleared by the State Board of Elections and the Attorney General. There will be a prohibition against vote denial or dilution. In terms of language access, the Maryland Voting Rights Act will require local governments to ensure that non-English speakers are not left behind in the voting process. And what that would look like would be providing materials and resources that are in Spanish, let's say, but not just Spanish, any language spoken among the community that raises to a level above 2%. And then more importantly, it would make private enforcement feasible by providing attorney's fees to private citizens or organizations like ours or any entity that brings these actions. If they are successful, they will be awarded attorney's fees. So if you'd like to talk more about it, I'm here to speak. And please, when you meet with your legislators, don't be afraid to put it on their radar. So I'll turn over my colleague, Frank.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Back there. My name is Frank Patinello, Senior Education Advocate with the ACLU of Maryland. First thing for education is to support the governor's budget for education. This is the first year in a long time where we had to push back against the budget and try to get things added in a supplemental budget. The blueprint for Maryland's future is largely directing new money, a lot of this new money coming to the schools this year. That includes about $785 million, and there's $1.1 billion in school construction dollars. So we're going to support that. There's also $15 million for new teacher recruitment, as there's about $2,000 2,000 vacant teaching positions. And there's an additional $500 million in the Blueprint Fund. So this is funding the Blueprint, which is a $3.8 billion education reform initiative. This will shore up that fund over the next few years, but after that, we're going to have to lock in more money to keep this reform initiative on track. And if you want to know more about how education is funded, education finance, I have enough information to put you in a coma. So please give me a call in the interim. The next bill is the Neighborhood Indicators of Poverty Bill, House Bill 1211. This bill will fundamentally change how funding is directed to students of low income. And there are different tiers of funding that match the different levels of poverty in the state. So this bill recognizes that a student in Baltimore City that lives in a neighborhood that has been historically redlined, divested from, yes, Coach Leo, I will hurry up, gets more money than a child, say, in a wealthier area that's also qualified for poverty. So we're supporting that bill, and we're supporting the multilingualism is an asset bill, which does a similar thing in terms of tiered funding for students at different levels of English proficiency. And it also establishes a way for districts to set up dual-lingual schools, dual-lingual immersion schools. So in this state, it will be Spanish and English schools. And there's a funding incentive for that, so we're supporting that. Thank you.
Thanks, y'all. Everyone on the policy team is going to be available with y'all for the next 7 minutes. So if you have any additional questions, please find them. They're happy to help. What we're going to do now, very quickly,